Hi everyone, I'm Abdul. In this video, I will walk you through the complete workflow I followed to create a promotional email for Firm Living brand. From brand research and mood boarding to designing in Figma and coding with HTML and CSS, I will show you the entire process step by step, and I'm confident you will find something valuable along the way, whether you are into designing, coding, or just curious how it all comes together. So stick around and let's dive right in. Before we dive in, let's take a quick look at the agenda for this video. Feel free to skip ahead to the section that interests you. As front-end developers, we work with a lot of different things, from building websites using core technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, to diving into 3D experiences with libraries like 3JS, exploring augmented reality, and working with modern frameworks like React, and yes, even crafting emails. Early in my career, I was exposed to many of these areas, and that was incredibly valuable. It gave me the flexibility and confidence to take on a wide range of front-end challenges. I even worked on back-end tasks using Laravel. But like many developers who start broad, over time, I began to feel like I wasn't really a specialist in any one field. Still, everyone has their own path, and this is mine. One day, while working at my previous company, I was assigned to create an email. And at that time, I had no idea what email development even was. I ended up coding the email and turning it into a reusable template directly inside the company's Gmail account. From that moment, I started learning more about the field, and that journey has led me here, creating my first video about my very first personal email project. This project was created to showcase and promote two specific products. They are quite similar, so I decided to promote them together in a single email. In order to design a high quality and most importantly, functional email that achieves the goal it is designed for, we first need to understand what the goal is. That means asking the right questions and build a clear plan of action. A great way to structure this kind of email is by using a classical marketing framework that I personally love, the AIDA model. AIDA stands for attention, interest, desire, and action, and it applies perfectly to email marketing. Now, before we move on, let's take a quick step back and answer a few important questions. What, why, where? What is the function of this email? As we mentioned it earlier, it is designed to promote and sell two products. It's not just about brand awareness, it's about conversion. The more sales we generate, the more successful we are. Simple as that. Where will this email live? That's a really critical point, especially for developers. The simple answer is, it will appear in email client. But here is the thing, it depends. If we are only targeting Gmail users, the development process can be more streamlined. But if we want to support Outlook, we have to be much more careful in how we code the layout and the styles. That makes things a bit more complex. Now, we know our marketing structure follows the AIDA model to guide the users from attention all the way to action. We understand that our primary goal is conversion and sales, and we have identified our technical constraints based on email client compatibility, but we still need to understand how this email should look like. So it is the time to do the brand research. We look on some basics like colors, fonts, images that will help us to understand the client vision and gather all of them on the mood board. Now it is the time to create our mood board. A mood board is essentially a collection of images, colors, fonts, and visual styles that capture the essence of what we are trying to create. It's incredibly valuable because it helps us maintain a consistent style throughout the entire design process. Let me walk you through how I built this mood board step by step. First, I added our marketing framework, the AIDA model, right at the top. This keeps our strategy front and center throughout the design process. I also included those critical questions we discussed earlier. What, why, and where? Having these answers visible helps guide every design decision we make. Next, I gathered the product images. After deciding to create an email for a furniture brand, I stumbled upon Firm Living brand, and what a lucky find that was. They offer absolutely stunning visuals, and downloading high-quality product images was incredibly easy. Literally, just a click, and I had everything I needed. Sometimes, the stars just aligned perfectly. Then came the color palette. Brand colors are essential, but without a style guide, it can be tricky. In this case, I started by sampling a primary color from the brand website and used this great tool to generate smooth, matching variations. It even visualizes those colors in UI components, which really helps you to see whether they align with the brand or need more tweaking. For typography, I used the WhatFont browser extension to identify the font families used on Firm Living website. Now here is where I learned something important. Not all web fonts are supported in email clients. So I made a note of the brand font and planned to use the closest web-safe alternative that would maintain the same visual feel. Then I gathered essential brand content from their website: product description, social media links, contact information, phone numbers, and email addresses. The beauty of doing this groundwork first is that it frees up all your mental energy for the creative process. Instead of constantly switching between research and design, you can focus entirely on bringing your vision to life. Now comes one of my favorite parts: building the concept. This is where we take all that research and transform it into a concrete plan. I always start with the pen and paper. Sketching helps you think more freely without getting caught up in the technical details. The first major decision we need to make is determining how many sections our email will have, and then figure out the layout for each one. For promotional emails like this, I include 5 to 7 essential sections, and each one serve a specific purpose in our AIDA framework. Let me break this down. First, we have the brand logo. This established the trust and recognition right from the start. Next is the hero section. This is where we grab the user's attention. It is the first thing they see after the logo, so it needs to be compelling and visually striking. Then we move to the product highlight section. Here we build interest by showcasing the specific products we are promoting. After that comes the lifestyle section. This is where we create desire, and I personally tend to showing how these products fit into the customer's ideal life. We follow this with a strong call to action section, driving the user to take that buying action. And finally, the footer with all the essential information and links. You can see how this structure perfectly follow the AIDA model: attention in the hero, interest in the product highlight, desire in the lifestyle section, and action in the CTA section. Now let's talk about the layout decision for each section. There is actually a fantastic article from Mailmodo that covers different email layouts. I highly recommend checking it out if you want to dive more into email design principles. The logo will be positioned on the left, clean and simple. For the hero section, I went with a multiple column layout. While a single column with just one big image could have worked, but this approach gave me more flexibility to combine visuals and text side by side. Depending on your case, you can always choose the layout that fits your email best. For the product highlight, I'm going with zigzag layout or Z layout. This creates visual interest and guides the eye naturally through the content. Now the lifestyle section. This is where I decided to challenge myself. I wanted to create something special to showcase the product images, so I researched CSS Gallery's designs online. I found some great inspirations on freefrontend.com, and I know it would be challenging to code. But that's exactly what motivated me. You know how it is. Once you commit to a challenge, you cannot leave your computer until you solve it. The CTA section will be either a double column layout, like the hero section, or a single column. I will go here with a double column. And finally, the footer with all the essential brand information. Every layout choice here is not just a personal preference. Each decision is a strategy made to support our AIDA framework and guide users toward making a purchase. Alright, we have now completed about 50% of our work. We have our mood board with all our visual references. We understand our AIDA strategy, and we have mapped out the complete email structure with the specific layout choices for each section. Next, we will take all of this planning and start bringing it to life in Figma. Now, I will not go into every detail about the final design process in Figma, but I will focus on the most important parts of the design and demonstrate how it supports our AIDA framework. Now it is the time to bring all our planning to life inside Figma. I will not cover every single pixel I moved. Instead, I will focus on some meaningful design choices and how they directly support our AIDA framework. First, we grab the user's attention. This could be through a title of the email and preview text, or an eye-catching hero section right at the top of the email. And that got me thinking, Which one's better? The hero with the image as text, it really captures the brand, or the one that sticks to the usual best practices with just text? What do you think? Which one would you go for? Next is building interest. Here at the second section, let's look at two key things that make this section work. First is the zigzag layout. As we discussed earlier, I use the zigzag structure to alternate between images and text, left, left, and so on. This is not just about aesthetics, it creates a natural rhythm as you scroll and keeps the eye moving. Second is the pricing strategy. See that crossed out 59.99 next to the bold 49? This simple visual trick tells the user that they are getting a deal. It's one of those classical psychological techniques that used to work. People see the discount and instantly feel like they are saving money. All of those elements, the zigzag flow, the clear pricing structure, the product storytelling, they are all working together to build that interest we need before we can move users toward actually wanting to buy. Here in this section, our goal is to create desire, to make the user truly want this product in their life. Thankfully, the brand made this easy with the high-quality visuals they provide. I choose lifestyle images that show the baskets in real, lived-in spaces, like a cozy reading corner, or a stylish entryway, or a warm bedroom scene. It's all about helping people to picture the product in their own homes. When someone sees that the basket perfectly placed in the kids' room or adding a charm to a hallway, they start thinking, this would look great in my space. That's the emotional connection we are aiming for, turning curiosity into genuine want. And finally, here we drive action through a call to action button that takes the users directly to the website to complete their purchase. Now let's talk about the footer. Here we are including essential elements like social media links, privacy policy, contact information, all the standard stuff you would expect. But I also added this pre-footer part, some statements about delivery. Do you think it's mandatory, or is it actually useful? Does it add visual appeal to the email, or it's just an extra content that might distract from the main goal? I would love to hear your perspective on this in the comments. Now we have designed our email and applied our AIDA framework. It's time for the real challenge, turning this design into functional code that works across different email clients. Coding, the best part I used to do all the time. I will not go deeper with every detail of the coding part, but I will focus on the most important parts that really deserve attention. Let's start with the flow. Like any front-end work, whether it's for a website or an email, we always begin with the layout, placing each element in its correct spot, and making sure it is responsive. After that comes the styling. I will walk you through the two layout examples here. First, the hero section, then a more complex section with an image gallery style design. Email's layout is based on tables, columns, rows, not grid system or flexbox, like we used in web development. Some rules we have to agree on before we start. First, we don't apply any styles for table rows. In very few cases we do. Second, we apply spacing whether by padding or margin. Padding is king, it's not my personal opinion. It's because it is widely supported in 95% of email clients and partially supported by the rest, 5%. Unlike margin, which is supported by 58% and partially supported by the rest, 42% of email clients. Did I get that from my mind? No, I got that from caniemail.com, which is a great resource for checking HTML CSS compatibility across email clients. Now the question comes, aren't we using margin at all? Nope, we still do in special cases. For example, when we are spacing paragraphs, using margin bottom is a good move because Outlook does not respect padding on paragraphs. And there is few cases. Oh, and always test across clients, especially Outlook. It has a great reputation for absolutely ruining layouts that were working perfectly fine everywhere else. Third, something will help you. Once you see on the design a new color, know that it is a table that has this background color. Let's break down the structure and go over the email. At the top level, we have got one big table. Each row inside it represents a section of the email. Inside every row, there is a column, TD, with a table inside it. At this table, we will define the background color, the width, which is 600 pixels, and finally centering the content. That's common for every section here. Then we go over each table and we define the layout for the content inside it, and so on. So far, we reached to table depth. Now let's take the hero section as an example. First, we see padding here, and as I told you earlier, we use padding to define the spacing, and it applies for only the table column, TD. So we are going to define table row, table column with padding, TR, TD, with padding. Inside what? Inside the second table. Then inside this table column, we start defining the layout of the content by starting with another table. But now, this table has one row and two columns, one for the text and one for the image. Great. That's now the third table depth. Let's start with the column for the image, as it's easy. Simply, you place inside it an image element. Now let's move to the next column, which is for the text. We see here another layout, right? So inside this column, TD, we will define another table. And that's the fourth table in depth. Inside this table, we have three rows. The first row has a column, and inside this column, we have H2 tag for the title. And the second row, we have inside it the paragraph tag, B tag for the description. And finally, the third row has a column with the A tag directly for the button. Unfortunately not. I need from you, when you see a button, deal with it like it's a complex layout. So here we will define another table, and that's the fifth table in depth. And inside this table, we will go with the table body, row, column, then the A tag with the styles required for the button. We did a great work so far. Ooh, that was a solid work. Now let's tackle the second challenge and go with this layout. Again, we here have the big table that holds each row for a section. And inside this row, we have a column that contains the common table that I mentioned earlier. The one responsible for setting the background color, 600 pixel width, and centering the content. And that's the second one in depth so far. Inside this common table, we have one single row with a column, and this column has the main padding. Then we nest another table with two rows. That's the third table in depth. Let's tackle the first row. First row with a single column, and inside it we place the H2 title. Clean and easy. Second row with two columns here, right? We see complex layout. So let's define inside each column a table. And that's the fourth one in depth. Okay. Let's tackle the first column. Inside the first column, we have a table with two rows. Inside each row, we have a column with an image. That's it, simply like that. And same for the second column here. Two final notes worth mentioning. First, we adjust the spacing or the gaps that you see here and here by padding. Second, we have here a column that's much wider than the other. We reach that by setting the width for the two big columns right here, okay?
The final phase, testing. Now I'm showing how the email looks like in the most popular clients, like Gmail and Outlook, using my personal devices, iPhone 13, Samsung tablet, desktop Linux. Before we start, it's important to know that professional email testing covers a lot of ground. It includes checking spam scores, ensuring deliverability, testing subject lines, and many other technical details. It can get very complex. Today, however, we are going to focus on the one of the most important parts, how our email actually looks like when it arrives. This is all about making sure our design appears correctly on different devices and in different email clients. So how do we test email's appearance? We have two main options. Option 1, use a paid service like Litmus. It shows how your email will render across dozens of clients and devices automatically. It's powerful, but it's not free. Option 2, test it manually using your own devices. This is the free approach and the one we will follow today. To test an email manually, we just need to follow these 4 steps. First, upload your images. We need to upload the images to a server to get the live URLs. Then, replace the local paths in your code with these new URLs. To speed up this, I wrote a script that automates this for me. I can share that with you later. Secondly, inline your CSS. There are plenty of free online tools that can do this for you. Finally, draft the email. Get the final HTML code into the email draft. My personal trick is to use the inspect tool in the web browser to paste that email directly into the email composer. It's a simple method and it works great for me. Finally, send this email to yourself. You can save it as a template, by the way, in your email client for easy access later.
This is the end of the video. I did my best. I'm proud of the result. And that's it. The full journey of how I created this promotional email, from understanding the brand and building the visual language to writing structured code and thinking through the marketing lens, all the way to bringing it to life. I wouldn't call myself a professional designer or an email expert, but what I do believe is that I'm just someone who loves building things, and I genuinely believe that email marketing is an underrated but powerful tool. It is direct, it's personal, and can really make a difference. That's why this project meant a lot to me, and that's my way of putting a small but intentional stamp on a field that I really respect. In future, we can explore more of that, or maybe we can talk about other front-end works that I have been through, like web or mobile, React, React Native, augmented reality.
Yeah, some interesting stuff and much more. I'm currently open to new opportunities. Wrapped up my last role in May, so if you're working on something exciting, especially in front-end or creative development, I would love to be part of it.
I would genuinely love to hear from people working in the email marketing. What would you recommend as the next step? I'm always eager to grow and would truly appreciate any advice or guidance from folks in the industry. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, I will keep learning, keep building, and keep sharing along the way.